Yep. Hi, everybody, and welcome to our first class of our next session. We're going to show a little love to our knees today. And I just want to give you a little bit of anatomy, and then we're going to actually press into something. So if you're at home watching this, if you don't worry, we'll figure that out when we get there. But I always ask everyone to have a block, a firm cushion, or a belt nearby, just so you have them when you need them. So the knee is a hinge joint. It basically hinges, right? Whereas the hip and the shoulder are ball and socket. We're not going to go into that today, but basically the knee joint, you can't strengthen the joint itself, you can strengthen the muscles. And what we're going to focus on today, because the quadriceps are the most important muscle group. There's 4 of them. And they all culminate into a tendon that spreads over top of your kneecap, your patella, and then it connects to your tibia, right? So, and you don't worry if you don't remember all of this or any of this, because we're going to do something today to focus on the inner vastus medialis muscle. These ones on the outside, they get enough work. This one on the inside, they don't get that much work. Even the adductor muscle. You know, we notice a little flab there. It's a muscle. It's a sexy one if it gets worked and it tightens. So, and here's the most important thing. And because you're studying yoga, you're already ahead of the curve, because I see people, alignment is everything. Misalignment is a big problem. So when we do our standing poses today, and clearly, if we want to really strengthen the muscles that support alignment of the knee, because that's where the knee gets messed up and sore, is when it's misaligned. When these muscles are strong and you remember to be aligned, and if you think about it, your knees should be right over your ankles, and your knees should line up with these puppies. This is your asanas joints, your anterior superior iliac joints. So it's not about being out here by your hips. That's a different deal. So if you just visualize a line that goes from your asanas, these hip bones, right down through the knees and right through the ankles, okay? So we're gonna practice all this. I just wanted to give you the upfront. The other thing is that the knee will move laterally and medially just a little bit, but it's when it moves too much. And I'll bet you half of us in this class have hurt an anterior cruciate ligament, or the outer knee, but often it's the inner one. I've done it skiing, whatever. But these things will heal themselves with a proper diet and paying attention to not overwork something when it is injured, for goodness sake. For goodness sake. Okay, so come on onto your backs. Oh, thank you for that strap. Alrighty, so you're going to take your feet to the edges of your mat, and you're just going to gently windshield wipe your knees from one side to the other. Now, whenever we're practicing any type of exercise, if something hurts, that's your body saying, back off. All right, so if you can, and do this slowly, do it mindfully. That's the thing about yoga. If we practice mindfully and we focus, it helps bring this quality into our everyday living. And when we do that, the quality of our life improves, when we're just really present in the moment, not thinking about 4 days from now or something. I mean, I get planning and all that stuff, but if we're really doing something, pay attention, be mindful. So it's not just the quadriceps, but the quadriceps are the most important muscles that protect and support the knee. Also your hamstrings, your inner thighs, which we talked about, abductor. We're going to work on all this. Your adductors, your outer thighs, and your calves to some degree, because as I said, that tendon where the 4 quadricep muscles culminate attach over the knee into the shin. Okay, so everybody be in neutral. And let's keep the feet where they are on the edges of the mat. And then drop both knees over to the left side. Pick up your left heel or ankle and place it on top of the right knee. Now I'm asking you to do this because what you're stretching a lot, and this is an important muscle as well, is your IT band. If the IT band is too tight, it wants to pull your kneecap outwards. Now, when we have weak arches, the kneecap tends to fall inward. So we're going to focus on all of these things today. And then place that left foot back on the outer edge of your mat and slowly come back to center, because that's a really intense stretch, the IT band. And then slowly lower both knees over to the right. And then pick up your right heel or right ankle, but probably the heel, and you're going to place that on the outer top edge of your left knee. So the IT band, I stands for ilium, the iliac crest. This is that broad side of your hip bone. T stands for tibia, your shin bone. So IT band is a band that goes from your ilium to your tibia. And if this is tight, it'll tend to pull your knee outwards, and hence you lose your alignment, becomes misaligned. And remove that foot, slowly come back to center, just to let your IT band release. Draw your right knee up into your chest and draw your left knee up into your chest. And just do some gentle rocking from side to side, or perhaps making circles with one hand on each knee. Just checking in here with your sacrum, your lower back. It's a self-massage. It should feel good. And then both knees are together, feet are together, thighs are glued together. And have your legs at right angles. So your upper thigh is at a right angle to your torso, and your lower leg is perpendicular to your torso. Press the small of your back into the floor. When you do this, you start to engage your core. And then slowly lower both knees over to the left and turn your head to the right. So we're just gently warming up, opening up the joints in the spine and releasing any tension from the lower back. You'll probably may also be noticing some stretch through the right armpit, shoulder joint, your pectoralis muscles. These are your chest muscles. So they go from your chest to your armpit. You have minor and major pectoralises. In fact, that old expression, we must increase our bust, that exercise that we would do, which was isometric, was working on your pectoral muscles. Inhale, slowly bring the knees back to center. Exhale, lowering both knees over to the left, the right side, the opposite side. Now we are trying to keep our left shoulder on the mat, and you can turn your head to the left. And just breathe into whatever area may be tight. You know, the idea of yoga is there's a lot of reasons, but one of them is removing the blockages within the body. And the blockages, they can be physical. They can be a result of tension or stress. You know, we're busy moving furniture, thinking about gardening, buying soil, da-da-da-da-da, all good. Activity is good for the body, but if we don't stretch things out after we've contracted muscles, there can be a block in the energy. That means that there's no flow in that area or a reduced flow, and then you start to feel exhausted. So yoga, of course, addresses this very nicely. And let's bring the knees back to center. And then once again, hands on the knee shins, rocking from side to side. And let's get our one safe hamstring stretch in, because again, it's going to affect the knees. The hamstrings, well, we'll get into it and then I'll talk about them. So bring your arms inside of your legs. Take hold of your insteps. Now, if you can't reach your insteps, just go for your ankles. And then try to bring your ankles directly over your knees. Tilt your chin towards the center of your chest to lengthen the back of your neck so that your ankles are directly over your knees and your knees are just outside of your torso. This is a safe hamstring stretch. So your hamstrings insert into your sits bones, the bony protrusions in your butt. We'll be discussing these a little more in further classes, but your hamstrings originate, attach these sits bones, and then they insert around the back of your knees. Again, if these muscles are tight, they're probably going to keep your knees in flexion, but they're definitely going to impact. Everything's connected, and the body is wonderful in that it will try to compensate when something's out of balance, out of whack, but eventually it will pull so many things out of whack, like the alignment on your car. If it's not properly aligned, your tires, AKA your feet, they end up being unevenly worn. And then we know we have to buy new tires, but with our body, it's a little more serious. So breathe into those tight hamstrings. This is a very safe and effective stretch for those hamstrings. If anybody's ever torn their hamstrings, I have. It's incredibly painful. So by having them stretched, we reduce the chance of injury. Okay, let's bring our hands underneath the backs of our thighs. We're going to rock up to a seated position. If that's not something you feel you wish to do, you can roll over onto your side and then use your top arm to press yourself up. Okay, and while we're in a seated position, let's do some of our, so we're stretching our muscles before we work them. So take your legs wide apart. So wide leg sitting position, Upavista Konasana. Now, your hands are going to be beside your body. They can be tented right beside your hips. You might want to lift yourself up a little bit and press your pelvis forward. And then ideally, and I get that this can be tough if your hips are tight, that you won't be able to sit right on top of your sits bones, but that's what's ideal, especially if we're sitting in chairs too. I want you to take what we learn on the mat, hopefully into the rest of your day. Now, stretching our inner thigh muscles. That's what we're doing. So the wider your legs are apart, you're stretching these inner thigh adductor muscles, but you're using your hands tented to sit up nice and tall, nice and straight. So feel heavy and rooted through the butt and lifting up through the crown. Music down? Is that better? Even a little more? Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'll do the mirror image. Let's fold the left foot in towards the right thigh. Left foot in towards right thigh. So again, we're stretching some of the muscles before we start to work them. Flex the foot of the straight leg. Let's turn towards that straight leg. And then inhale, reach up. Exhale, now be very mindful of any knee issues here. And actually, I guess yeah, here we go. If you find your knee's not happy, you can prop it up a little bit, okay? So wherever you need it, lifting up, exhale, forward fold. So if you can use a block or a cushion if that knee is not happy. And then just lower your hands and take hold of the furthest part of your right leg as you can. Try to keep your heart lifted, your spine nice and long, and breathe. And inhale, come up and float your arms down. Carefully unfold that leg, and let's bang out the back of the knee. Okay, let's fold the other leg. So it's just a variation of Janu Shirshasana, a little bit easier than having it straight out in front. And again, if your knee's not happy, add some height, take some pressure off that knee joint. Sitting up nice and tall, you can use your block. If you have a block, put that underneath your knee. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Don't worry about how far you go. It's not about reaching for your toes here. Take whatever part of the leg you can reach. Hold on to it. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, forward fold, whatever amount you can. And walk your hands back up your leg and gently unfold and bang out the back of the leg. And while we're sitting, let's get our straps. We're going to come back down on, oh, I'll bet you don't, tech guy doesn't have a strap. This will be his excuse to sit on the couch. Yeah, he's laughing. Thanks, Carmen. He's kapha. We'll be talking about that this class. We'll find out what our main dosha is. There's no bad ones. There are just positive and negatives to each of the doshas. That's all. Like everything. Okay, so your strap. We're going to come down onto our backs again, but the important thing is, please put your strap around the ball of your foot, not the arch, the ball, okay? So come on down, put it on your right foot first. And again, we're just going to do some stretching of our inner thigh adductor muscle. Lower that leg over to the right. So right leg to right side. By holding the strap, you can get a little more stretch in that inner thigh adductor muscle. Inhale, come up to center. Change hands, but keep the strap on that leg and just lower the leg over to the other side. Twisting. Now this gets into, again, the IT band, a bit of the top of your hamstrings and your glutes, your butt muscles. Inhale, come back to center. And one more time, take this over to the right side. So right leg to right side. Try to keep that left hip and butt flat on the ground. And you're pulling with your straps so that you're keeping the leg as perpendicular to your torso as possible. Inhale, bring the leg straight up to center. Let's bring the other leg up. Place the strap around the ball and lower your right leg down. So with your Strap now on your left leg and the strap in your left hand. Carefully, mindfully, lower your left leg, open to the left side. Keeping your right hip as much as you can level and your right buttock on your mat. Inhale, bring the leg up to center. Change hands so that now your right hand is holding the strap. And you can feel this in your hamstrings, backs of your legs, the muscles in the backs of your legs, and take that leg over to the other side. Don't go any further. So I can feel my left hamstrings are far tighter than my right. The other thing about tearing your hamstrings is it loosens them up, but in a way that makes them less stable. So you have a little more flexibility, but you don't have the same stability. Thigh muscles are really strong. They need to be. We walk, we run, we skip, hop, jump, blah, blah, blah. So, skiing, sports, your thigh muscles are what are working hard. So naturally, these muscles will tend to be a little tighter. And then inhale, bring the leg back to center. And again, switch hands so that the same hand is holding the same leg with the strap. Open your left leg, or whichever leg you're on right now, out to the side. Keep a little bit of tension, otherwise the leg wants to sail down lower, but if you keep it a little bit higher, you get a really good stretch through that inner thigh adductor muscle, and in a moment, we're going to find our Vastis Medialis muscle, which is the one that doesn't get enough work and can threaten the alignment of the knee and hence cause pain. And inhale, bring that leg back to center and bend the leg, and that's going to be it for your straps for now. Once again, we're going to come up to a seated position before we come to standing, so you can either roll over onto your side or place your hands underneath the backs of your thighs and rock up to a seated position. All right, so here's your anatomy lesson today. As I mentioned, 4 quadriceps muscles. Your vastus medialis, we're going to find that right now. We're going to palpate it. So what I want you to do is sit up nice and tall. Now, if you have a cushion and you want to put that underneath your butt so it's easier, or a block, it's easier. Oh, and this is where I want you to take whatever, you can roll up the back of your mat. You're going to place something underneath. This is not the best thing, but I'm just going to show you. You're going to place something underneath the backs of your knees. So if you're at home practicing, roll up your mat. All right? And now you've got something underneath the bottoms of your knees. Okay? So, and I'm going to kill that music. Okay, so underneath your knees, let's take the left foot out. If you were facing a clock, it would be at 1 o'clock, and I want you to flex that foot a lot, okay? Flex the foot a lot. So make sure this thing is right under your knees. I don't like how this is working. Maybe I'll just try one little. Okay? Now, what I want you to do is take your finger, place it about 1 inch above your patella, and then 1.5 inches, move it inside of your thigh. Now, straighten your leg and lift it. Straighten your leg, straighten your leg, straighten your leg. Can you feel that muscle? Just use a finger or two. That is your vastus medialis muscle. It's like a teardrop at the end if you were to look at it. Well, we actually have an anatomical artist in our class, Glenn at the back. And then release. Now, it's a bit of work. So folding up your mat would be better than a block underneath your knee, if you can do that, to just keep something underneath there. So again, you're going to straighten that leg. I'm going to do it without something underneath my knee right now. You're going to go about an inch away from your kneecap, and then another inch and a half inside, and then straighten your leg, flex your leg, like flex through the foot and straighten the leg. The reason we put something under our knees is to keep the knee from hyperextending. So this is contraction, this is extension. People who hyperextend, sometimes you see their knee actually goes so far backwards. That's not good either. So this is just, we won't spend a whole lot of time. We're going to do the other side too, but 1 inch above the kneecap and away from the kneecap, and then go 1.5 inches inside the thigh. That's your vastus medialis muscle. And that's one of your 4 quadriceps. And this is the one that is, according to the experts, the one that isn't strong enough. Okay, so just relax that leg. Woof. Okay, so take the other leg, flex the foot. So we're trying to avoid hyperextension. All right, so again, take a finger or two, not a whole hand, a finger or two, and just go about an inch above and away from your patella, your kneecap, and then go another 1.5 inches inside, and then straighten your leg, straighten your leg. You should feel a muscle flexing. Do you feel it with your? Well, I don't want you to feel the whole thing, because the thing is that all these muscles get a lot of work. It's this one that doesn't get enough work, that vastus medialis, okay? So when you straighten your leg and keeping something underneath the knee, that's your vastus medialis. Okay, so take your knees off to the side. We're going to try and find, and come on over onto your knees. Curl your toes under. You're going to roll up to standing. But we're going to stay just hanging over in Uttanasana. Okay? You can keep your knees soft here. Just let your head hang, please. Now, step your right leg over your left. So both feet are on the ground here. And then with your right foot stepped over in front of your left, right foot stepped over in front of left, I want you to twist your body towards the right. So this is just another stretch for your IT band and your hip. Because the next part, we're going to start working the muscles. And then uncross that leg. And then take the left foot and cross it over the right. So your left foot is crossed over your right foot. And now you're going to take your fingers, and you can bend your knees if you need to here, around to the left side. So I'm sure you're feeling some stretch all down, maybe the entire outside of your outer right leg. Relax your neck and bring that foot back. Okay, now bend your knees and slowly roll up 1 vertebra at a time. And let your head be the last thing to come up. And give your legs a shake out. And if you'd like to take a sip of water, please do so. Okay, so now we're going to take, and if you feel like your balance is a little wonky, then I'll give you an option. You're going to take I'll do your left leg, I'll do the mirror image again, your left foot behind your right, so step it back. Okay, so your left leg is behind your right. Left leg is behind your right. I'm doing the mirror image. And then place your right hand on your hip and lift your left arm up and stretch. And bring that top arm onto your hip and reach the other arm up and stretch. By focusing your gaze, it helps you to keep your balance. Okay, uncross. Give your legs a shake out. Let's take the opposite foot behind. Opposite foot behind. And now with your left hand on your right hip, sweep the right arm up. Back up and down. And now place that hand on the hip, reach the other arm up. Well, you just all look like a bunch of ballerinas. How beautiful. How lovely. Okay, that's it. Give your legs a good shake out. How are we doing for heat, everybody? We're good? Okay, great. Okay, so when it comes, standing poses obviously are going to be the poses that are going to work your thighs the most. And there's things to keep in mind with your alignment. So just let me remind you right now that when you're bending any knee, and we talk about this all the time, I talk about it all the time, but I'm going to remind you, you want to press the ball of your big toe and your heel mount into the floor. If you find that you're gripping with your toes, when you're in any type of warrior position or any extended position, that means your knee is too far forward, you've lost your alignment. You want your knee right over your ankle. I even use the cue of having your calf line up with your heel, but it's really important. So now, when the inner thigh adductor muscle and this vastus medialis muscles are weak, what happens, and this happens, I have to pay attention to it myself. That knee wants to collapse in. So let me turn forward so you actually can see. That knee wants to collapse. That's really, that's out of alignment. And the other thing is that if the hips are tight or we're not able to turn our hips in the direction, if we're doing warrior one, this knee goes out. So basically, you want your kneecap to track right over your second or middle toe. No exceptions, no anywhere else. Just have a look that's where it's going. Okay? So give your legs a shake out for a moment before we start, and maybe let's start. Actually, we're going to do our sun salutations, and then we'll do our standing postures just to make sure everything's warmed up. So starting up at the front of your mat, if you have socks on and they're not sticky, now would be the time to remove them. Starting at the front of your mat. And this is a great opportunity, too, to think about your alignment once again. Well, even just when you start or when you're standing and washing dishes or brushing your teeth, these are all opportunities for us to remember alignment. So if you lift your toes off the floor, you'll feel your big toe mount pressing into the floor. You should also feel the center front of your heel pressing down. Now, when you start to engage your thighs, especially your inner adductor muscles, you'll start to feel your arches lift. When the arches are collapsed, the knees collapse too. So if you know that your arches are collapsed, you really should be wearing footwear that has arch support, just to protect your knees. We're lucky, people can get knee replacements, don't have to pay for them, but let's put that off and delay as long as possible. Also, feet should be parallel. So they shouldn't be turned out. Now, people who with turned out feet often have very tight hips, but because you practice yoga, I have to assume your hips are a little bit looser than the average bear. Okay, so outsides of feet are parallel with the outsides of your mat. This is, when we stand a lot, although we sit more. But if we're standing, try to bring that into your awareness this week. Inhale, exhale, hands in prayer. Step your feet apart for balance. Reach up, look up, and arc back. Inhale, bring your feet back towards one another. Lift out of your waist. Bend and reach forward, bending from your hips, not your waist. Let your head be heavy, fingertips tented on the floor. Step your left leg back, drop the knee to the mat, bring your hands onto your right knee. Please keep your shoulders over your hips. And then lifting that back knee off the floor, focus your gaze. Now, focus your gaze, but this is where, and maybe if you're struggling with balance, just continue to focus your gaze. However, if you press through the back of that foot, that's your anchor, and you want your knee tracking, your foot should be 90 degrees forward. That's the other thing. If the foot is off madly in all directions, that foot should be 90 degrees, your front foot towards your mat, and your knee is tracking over your middle and third toe. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Shoulders stay down, fingers are active. We're going to need them in a moment. Turn your hands forward, spread your fingers apart to distribute the weight of the wrists and arms, and take that front leg back. Now, if a plank position is not good for you today, please bring your knees to the floor. And obviously, you might need to cushion your knees. So put something there or fold your mat over, or perhaps don't lift your feet off the floor, but if you are in a modified push-up, you can lift your feet off the floor, cross at the ankles. If you're in your push-up position, shoulders away from your ears, pull your bellies in. If you're not feeling any pain in the wrists or shoulders, this is a wonderful practice to strengthen your upper body and your core. Remember, the wrinkles in your wrists should be aligned with the front of your mat. Now you can release your knees, flatten the tops of your feet. Carefully take your hips back towards your heels. If bending your knees more than 90 degrees is an issue, stay in puppy pose. Lower your upper body and forehead to the floor. If you're taking your hips back to your heels, release your belly onto your thighs and breathe. Tops of your feet are flat, so your toes are pointing backwards. And then leave your hands where they are. Keep your body nice and low. Slowly come forward until you can bring your chest and your chin onto your mat with your bums up in the air. Slide everything out behind you. Draw your fingers back to align with the edges of your shoulders. And roll an invisible alley with your nose to lengthen your neck. Let's slowly lift the head, neck, shoulders, and chest. Baby Cobra, Bhujangasana. You are not using your hands. You're using the strength of your back muscles. Breathing, keeping your elbows into your side body and your shoulders down. And your eyes can be open or closed, rolled up towards your third eye, Ajna Chakra. One more breath in. Exhale, lengthen and lower. Now curl your toes under. You can come up onto your knees first, and then lift your hips up. Walk your feet a few inches forward. Bend your knees. Make sure your fingers are spread wide apart. Press your belly onto your thighs to lengthen your spine. Release your head between your arms. Press your sits bones a little more towards the back of your mat. And then press your heels towards the floor. And breathe. And then lift your left leg up in the air. Look at your left hand. Swing that foot as far forward as you can. If it didn't go very far, drop the right knee, pick the foot up at the ankle, bring it towards the front of your mat, swing your other leg forward, and then just let your upper body hang. Arms beside your ears. Engage your thighs by lifting up on your kneecaps. Pull your bellies in towards your lower back to protect as you sweep the arms in front, reaching up, feet apart for balance. Look up and arc back. Whatever amount. Inhale, bring your feet back towards one another. Lift out of your waist. Feel your thighs engaging again as you fold forward. Bend your knees and then sweep the arms out to the side, circling them up and overhead, hands in prayer. Exhale to your heart center and give your legs a good shake out. Okay, so we won't do any more of that. We're going to do some of our standing postures now. So coming up to the front of your mat, step your right leg back about one leg length. Now, your front foot needs to be exactly 90 degrees pointing forward, and your back foot somewhere between 30 and 60. I like the 30 and 60 just because it just keeps me nice and loose in the hips. So we're going to do our warrior one. If you are unable to orientate the front of your body, your shoulders, your chest, your hips to the front of your mat, spread your feet a little wider apart. Spread your feet wider apart. So they're wider apart on the mat. Instead of them being so close together, spread them apart. So Junie, spread your feet apart so you can orientate the front of your body towards the front of your mat. Take your feet. Can you take your back? Yes. And take the other foot in the other direction. Yeah. So now, can you feel your body facing the front of your mat? Facing me, basically. Okay? All right. So then bend your front knee. Now this is where you want to be thinking about your arches lifting. Press into your big toe mount. Lift your toes off the floor. If you lift your toes off the floor, you'll have to press into your toe mount. And you want the weight going down through your heel. Your back foot, again, through the heel. Inhale and sweep the arms up. Fingers are active, shoulders stay down, rib cage stays in. And breathe. Take your arms behind your back, interlock your fingers, squeeze your shoulder blades together, lifting your heart and your gaze. Exhale, forward fold, keep that front knee bent. Keep your toes soft on your front leg. That will help you keep your arch activated, your big toe mount pressing in, and your heel. And then release your fingers down to the floor and sweep the arms in front, coming back into warrior one. Now we're going to transition into warrior three. Warrior three is a balanced posture. Just going to back up here, so anybody at home. So again, you wait for your own inner cue for balancing postures, but basically warrior three transfers the weight onto your front leg, and the arms can either be forward, sideways, or beside your body, whichever one feels best for you. And you're lifting your back leg up so you can really feel your thigh muscles. Your glutes and your hips are all working together to support your knee. Inhale, come back, release the arms down, and now separate your feet a little bit wider. We're going to come into warrior two. So in warrior two, we're actually going to align the heel of the front foot through the arch of your back foot. So the heel of your front foot. So now you want to bring your feet more in alignment. So the heel creates a straight line through the arch of your back foot. And then when you bend your front knee, now you should be able to have a good look that your knee is tracking. So if it's collapsing, this is not activated, your inner thigh adductor. And if it's falling outwards, you've lost your alignment. You want your knee tracking over your second and third toe. Press into the outside of your back foot. Inhale, sweep the arms to shoulder height and turn your head to look over to your left fingers. You might have a look that your back arm is level, and then bring your head back. Virabhadrasana 2. Vira, of course, virile, strength, strong. And then just take a moment. Can you check your inner thigh adductor muscles? These guys should be activated, all right? So, by keeping this knee tracking over your middle toes and by staying engaged in both front and back ball of the big toe and the heel. I'm trying to give you different cues because sometimes certain ones work for us and other ones just sound like Greek. And then lower your back arm down your back leg. So your toes are basically on a vacation. When we're doing some of these poses, they're not doing anything, because if your toes are gripping, it's because we're out of alignment. It should be the ball of the big toe and the heel that are pressing down through the earth as you reach up in exalted, peaceful warriors. And bring your arms back to shoulder height. And now pivot on your feet. And fold. So have your feet now turned out. And your knees are tracking towards your feet. And we're just going to bend halfway, tenting your fingers below your face, tabletop your back. And let's inhale, sweep the left arm up, reaching up, stretching up, maybe looking up, but eyes can be closed if you like. Exhale, float it down. Inhale, sweep the other arm up. Exhale, float it down. Walk your feet in towards one another. Now, can you grab your blocks? Actually, just one block will be fine. I didn't get my block. But what I want you to do, we're going to come into chair pose before we do the other side. So you're going to put your, oh, you got a next one? Thanks. Okay. So probably the middle position would work for most of us. And you can put it just above your knee. But in chair pose, again, if our knees are somewhere in, out, I don't know where, just put it between your knees. Have your feet parallel. Okay, so chair pose, it's like you're going to be sitting in a chair and you're sweeping. Arms can be shoulder height or they can be higher, but you're sitting back. So the weight goes into the heels. Once again, you should be able to see your toes in front of your knees in chair pose. And your hands can be wherever, because basically we're working the lower part of the body and the core. And release. And then bend over, keep the knees soft, let your head hang, and slowly roll up one vertebra at a time. Keep your chin tucked into your chest and let your head be the last thing to come up. And give your legs a good shake out. Okay, now I just have to think for you. We said the left foot, so I'm going to take the right foot back. Okay, so let's do the other side. Send your right foot back. And again, this is, is that my left foot? Oh, did I do the mirror? Okay, so which foot are you guys on? Left foot back. I did left foot back last time, didn't I? Really? Thank you for keeping me honest. Okay, so where am I again? Left foot back. Left foot back. Okay, righto. Yeah. Okay, so once again, we're doing warrior one first. So spread your feet apart so that you can orientate your body towards the front of your mat. Your shoulders, they want to be completely straight on with your mat. Your chest and your hips, not partly, entirely. Bend your front leg. Your anchor is going to be your back foot. So make sure, again, lift your toes off the floor. If you lift your toes of both feet, you're going to feel your big toe mounts pressing into the floor. Otherwise, you lose your balance and everything. And the center entirety of your heel. So, but the center front of your heel. Okay, and then inhale, sweep the arms up. And breathe, lift your gaze. After all this rain, things are going to start to pop. But rain cleanses the atmosphere, produces negative ions that are super positive for us. Take your arms behind your back, interlock your fingers, squeeze your shoulder blades together, lift your gaze and your hearts. Exhale, forward fold. And then release your hands to the floor. Keep that front knee bent. Sweep the arms up. Come back into warrior one. So, you know what's coming next. We're going to transition into warrior three. So basically, you're going to scooch your back foot forward. Keep that front foot 90 degrees. And then lift the back leg off the floor as you straighten your front leg. Focus your gaze. This is a difficult position. Really works the thigh of the left standing leg. Step back and give your legs a good shake out. But I feel like now I'm going to step my left leg back for warrior two. I'm going to do it. Because yeah. Okay, so now we're going to do warrior two. So basically, right leg is forward, left leg is back. I know where I messed up. Okay, but you want the heel of your front foot to create a straight line through the arch of your back foot. And your back foot, I mean, I know some places say 30 degrees out to the side. I prefer a little bit more. I just structurally feels better. And you know, there's all kinds of stuff out there floating around. But bend your front knee. Now, ideally, it would be nice if that knee at this leg was flat, but you still want that bend in your knee as right angle, as close as you can get, and track that knee over your middle or second toe. Press into the outside of your back leg and keep your torso straight up and down. Inhale, sweep the arms up to shoulder height. Lift up at your sternum, lower your shoulders, lengthen your neck, and fix your gaze over your front fingertips. So this is where, take a moment, check these adductor muscles. If that front one is lax, your knee's collapsing in, you've lost your alignment. So it is work to keep that knee in alignment, but you know, this is what's strengthening. You're working now this Vastis Medialis muscle, your inner quadricep. And then lower your back arm, down your back leg, reaching up, stretching up and looking up. And then bring your arms back to shoulder height. And now turning sideways on your mat, you're going to bring your feet in a little closer together. We're going to finish with goddess or God pose, but we'll all be goddesses because that's what they call it. All right, so this is where, again, you really want to see your knees tracking over. So your feet are about 2.5 feet apart, 2 feet apart, and they're turning out. They're turning slightly out. And then your knees are going to be tracking over your middle toes again, and lift up at your sternum. Sit your hips down a little bit. bring your arms up into cactus arms. Okay, can you come up onto the ball of your right foot? Come up onto the ball of your right foot, take it down. Ball of the left, down. Try the right again, and the left at the same time. Can you? Maybe not. See if you can. Focus your gaze on the floor. Lower one if it's a problem. And maybe try again. And then lower. And then take your feet a little wider apart. We're just going to do one more stretch for the inner thigh. So feet are at least one leg width apart. Fold from your hips, tent your fingers on the floor. Let's lunge over to the right side, bringing your bum as close to your heel as you can, but again, be mindful of any knee issues. But here's the thing about our knees. When we don't squat, we lose that ability to do so. Inhale, come up and over. So be careful. Don't do too much, but if you never do any kind of squatting, well, look, it's the use it or lose it, huh? But if it's causing pain, then there's no gain. Come on up into the center, walk your feet in towards one another, and now perhaps somebody's favorite pose, Shavasana. Lie down, flat out. Take a sip of water, please, before you do so, if you prefer. And then if you have an eye covering, this is a good time to cover your eyes. Or if you're at home practicing, turn the lights out if they were on. In the lying down position, and you can check with yourself. I ask you to take your hands far enough away from your body so that your palms are facing up in the open and receiving position. And that's in order to broaden and open up your chest area. We're often in a hunched, forward, flexed position. And if you turn your palms down, you'll see exactly what I mean. You'll see that inner rotation of your arm bone shortens your collarbones. If you turn your palms up in the open and receiving position, there's just a little more space for the transference of energy and oxygen through the upper part of your lungs, and of course, great for your shoulders. Eyes closed. Separate the biting surfaces of the teeth, relax the jaw. And bring your awareness and your attention to your breath. So while stimulation is good for us, both mental and physical, too much taxes our nervous system. So one of the benefits of yoga is to provide relief from excess stimulation, where we focus, we turn inward, and we give our nervous system a little bit of downtime to recover from the stressors and the hecticness of life, which is all unavoidable. The discipline of yoga offers a timeless and holistic model for healing, for health. It asks us to become more aware, more conscious and present. And these are the qualities that help us live better and suffer less. And as His Holiness the Dalai Lama said, all beings wish to be happy and all beings wish to avoid suffering. And whatever it is that we can do or learn to improve our happiness and our peace and those of others may well be the highest goal of achieving a human birth. Inhaling the life force long, full, and deep. And deep, exhaling. Long, full, deep, inhaling. And let it go. Just spend a moment scanning your body, perhaps allowing the corners of your mouth to turn up ever so slightly in that knowing Buddha smile. Feel the calm and alertness achieved from a simple yoga practice. Take a moment to roll over onto your side. Use your bottom arm as a pillow. Bend your knees just to relax the lower back. And when you're ready, use your top arm to press yourself back up into a seated position. And we can always silently chant, but if you wish to make the sound of the mother of all mantras, Om, together, please join us. Inhaling. Om Shanti, peace, namaste.